Hi everybody, this is Cody Smith. Welcome to my channel, Cody Smith, Peer Support with Christ. Today I'm going to be going over chapter 8 of my book, The World of Disability. And this is about my time in middle school, which is, it wasn't all bad. I was able to do certain things, like I was living a pretty typical life. I joined a theater group in my city that was specifically for people with disabilities, and I had a lot of fun with that. I was laughing, I was enjoying myself, and during that time, I was able to use it as a stress reliever, and I was able to, you know, kind of, as the saying goes, leave my problems at the door and focus on the life of my character, which again was a great stress reliever for me. And in terms of school, I had what's known as a student assistant or shadow. And what would happen is, as I would be sitting in class, listening to the teacher and doing my work, I would be mentally doing the work in my head, and then I would give her the answer, and she would write it down so that, when it comes to doing my work or taking notes or whatever it may be, you know, we would maybe sometimes go into one of the school workrooms so that we could talk privately, or I would, hold up my fingers to tell her what the answer is, like A, B, C, D, whatever like that, so that we could, kind of quietly communicate without giving away answers if we were still in the classroom. And that way, you know, I wouldn't have to try multitasking, because that has always been a problem for me, trying to, mentally do something and physically do something at the same time, like trying to pay attention to what's being said and listen, while also trying to write it down at the same time, because I don't write very fast, nor do I read very fast, even though I can read and write. And I've been tested, and it's come out that I do have a very high reading level. It's just that I don't physically do it very fast, and physical speed has always been a problem for me. And that's really the only thing. I take my time and I do things, at the speed that's comfortable for me so that I can get it done. And it may take an extra 5 minutes, but, you know, that's really neither here nor there, as long as I get it done in a timely manner and I'm able to do what I need to do and get my work done and be as independent as possible. That's what matters. And, in eighth grade, I was, helping to manage the football team, which even though all I really did was hang on to the coach's keys so he doesn't lose them, you know, that's, all I really did. And, I bonded with the players and we became good friends, and that's really how I lived life. And, they treated me as an equal once they really got to know me, and that's something I'm very grateful for. And of course, chapter 9, the next chapter is going to be about high school, because that's how I've broken up the chapters for everybody. And really, my student assistant, we also bonded, she and I. She was older than me, and, she, you know, grew to care about me and treated me like her own son. And it was, you know, something that we bonded over, and she tried to teach me to grow up and teach me about life, and I was willing to listen. And, you know, she helped me to understand different things about life and about myself, and that was very helpful. So that's how it went for us. And, I was you know, going through life, figuring out, like, both through therapy and through other things, okay, what works for me if this traditional way that society does these things doesn't work for me physically or whatever, what does, and finding my own methods of doing everything so that I can do things my way and in a timely manner and get everything done and keep pace with everybody else. That's all that mattered. So that's pretty much it. So I want everyone to know that, and that's not me being any different than anybody else. That's just me doing things differently because it's not a one to one, you know, cardboard cutout generic way of doing everything the same as everybody else. And no two people do the same thing the exact same way because, we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and we all have to find our own ways of overcoming those weaknesses. And that is what I did because with my disability, I felt metaphorically restrained, and I still do. So I have to figure out, like, okay, I'm restrained. How am I restrained, especially in this particular situation? And how could I, if I can't undo the restraints, if I can't take them off, how could I work around them so that I can do this? And it may take a few minutes, it may require some extra tools, but that is just the nature of the beast when it comes to having a disability. And that's what I want everyone to realize. We as people are no different, but our situations and circumstances and how we, work around them is going to be because we're not exactly the same in that regard, and our disabilities and whatever our strengths and weaknesses are do not affect us one to one exactly the same. So we have to find our own individual ways of dealing with them because what works for one may not work for the other. And that's the whole point. And that's why, again, like I said earlier, I feel like we need to learn each other's stories and give each other a fair chance because it could be that one person has found a solution to a problem that somebody else is struggling with, and we can help each other out. Like person A might have a solution to a problem that person B has, and person B might have a solution to a problem that person A has, and we can work together and figure out, okay, my solution may somewhat work, but how do I adjust it so that it works for you as well as it works for me? That's what I'm really getting at, and that is how I feel we should do this. And I will say the next chapter is going to be chapter 9 about my life in high school, and I really hope that everyone will like, share, subscribe, and please, leave comments. Let me know what you think, how you feel. If you have any questions or anything you want me to go into a bit deeper, please feel free to let me know, and I will. Because if you have any curiosities about my life specifically, or disabilities, or whatever, I will gladly try to answer them as best I can, even though I'm not the world's foremost leading expert and I can't, answer for everyone because I don't know everyone's story, but I will try to answer what I can. So I happily welcome questions and comments, and I would say that my big call to action for everyone in the world is, try to go meet someone, try to learn people's stories, both people with and without disabilities, so you can see, okay, what do we have in common other than the fact that we're both fully human, and how can we help each other solve the problems that we are facing? That's what I really want. Thanks everyone. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow for another video.